Am I the a-hole for partying while my GF is grieving? I, 22M, and my GF, 23F, has lost her aunt a week ago. They were pretty close, and obviously she is very sad. I try to support her doing everything I can, but she doesn't really want to talk and told me she wants to go through this moment by herself. I insisted and offered to stay with her during this weekend, do things that she likes, like going out for sushi and playing board games, to maybe make her feel a little better, but she refused. Since she didn't want me to be with her and I would be alone at home, I decided to hang out with some friends. She always told me she really likes these friends, and we went to a party where my favorite DJ was going to play. I told her that I was going and she said, I can do whatever I want, and she would not really care. The next day she called me and was extremely angry, told me she was very disappointed that I wasn't there for her in a difficult time, and she couldn't sleep because she wasn't feeling well, because of her loss, and couldn't call me or text since I was at the party. Not gonna lie, I am very confused about this situation. Am I the a-hole? Edit. Since it happened, I told her I understand her desire to be on her own, but she could feel free to talk to me at any time and I would be there. Even if I went to the party, if she wanted me to be with her, I would leave immediately. Some people said I should simply go, but she lives with her parents and I can't just show up there without any warning.
Parents, what is the most heartbreaking thing your child has ever said to you? I was taking a break from mowing the lawn one day, sitting in the dining room with a glass of ice water, and my two stepdaughters were hanging out with me. The topic of boyfriends came up, which isn't surprising since my youngest, 5th grade at the time, was always looking for a new one. Either myself or her sister, I forget which, mentioned that her current boyfriend was a bit chubby, nothing wrong with chubby folks, and she immediately got defensive saying, looks don't matter, being the one to poke fun for fun's sake, not to be malicious. I said at some point they probably will. My oldest one chimes in and says, well, if looks matter, why is mom with you? And I instantly died inside. She realized what she said and was like, no, I didn't mean it like that, you're bald. Double burn. I deserved it, though.
A broke stranger helped me when my own parents wouldn't. I have a lot of health problems and had to pay for my own prescriptions as a teenager, so I had to work all the time, further complicating my health problems. I went to the pharmacy to get my medications on Christmas Eve, but the doctor had sent something stronger than usual that my insurance didn't cover, and it was a couple hundred for 2 prescriptions. I couldn't use one without the other, but I could only afford one, and going without them until my next paycheck would either land me in the hospital or kill me, neither of which I could afford any better than the pills. A stranger behind me in line, who did not look like he was any better off than myself, stepped forward and said, what the hell, it's Christmas, right? And bought my pills for me. I could tell by the look on his face that he couldn't really afford to do it, but he just told me he hoped I felt better and left. TLDR. A broke stranger was willing to help a sick 16-year-old girl whose loaded parents wouldn't.
Am I the a-hole for thinking I was great in bed until my wife admitted she's been faking it? So, this one hurts. I, 34M, have been with my wife, 32F, for 8 years, married for 5. I always thought our sex life was solid. She seemed into it, I put in effort, and honestly, I thought I was pretty damn good in bed. Then last week, we were having a deep conversation about our relationship, just talking about things we could improve. Out of nowhere, she drops, I should probably tell you. I've never actually had an orgasm with you. I laughed because I legit thought she was joking. She wasn't. Turns out, she's been faking it our entire relationship. 8. Damn. Years. I was stunned. I asked why she never told me, and she said she didn't want to hurt my feelings, and that it's not a big deal. Not a big deal. I've been walking around thinking I was a sex god while she was out here giving Oscar-worthy performances. I won't lie. I feel like a complete idiot. I told her I would have rather known sooner so we could, fix it. But now I just feel embarrassed, frustrated, and kind of betrayed. I get that she didn't want to make me feel bad, but I also feel like she took away my chance to actually learn and improve. Like, was I that bad that she thought honesty wasn't even worth it? So, am I the a-hole for being upset? Or am I overreacting to something that apparently doesn't matter?
My daughter, who has a rare disorder, made a heartfelt birthday wish, and strangers transformed it into an unforgettable experience. My daughter has a very rare genetic disorder. It causes physical and intellectual disabilities. She doesn't really have friends, so birthday parties are not a thing. We have found other ways to make her birthday special, like going to a baseball game and handing out cupcake to people sitting near us. We spend a decent amount of time at a major theme park because she enjoys the excitement, character interactions, and shows. The people who work there have come to know her, and she calls them her best friends. If she tells us she wants to visit her friends, she means going to this theme park. During a visit to the park near her 16th birthday, she mentioned to the workers that her birthday was near and that all she wanted was to spend the day with her friends. A few days later, I was contacted by one of them on Facebook and asked if that was true, that she wasn't having a 16th birthday party. I said yes and explained why, but that it was all good, and we intended to come to the parks and celebrate. A couple days before her birthday, I was contacted again and asked to bring her by a place where one of the performers worked a second job so they could tell her happy birthday on her actual birthday. Those theme park workers got together, rented out a venue, and threw her a huge, amazing, and totally on her level 16th birthday party. Because a lot of them were friends with characters, I didn't even recognize half of them. They sang, put on a show, had cake and ice cream, balloons, the whole thing. She spent the whole time smiling and laughing. I spent the whole time crying. I will forever be grateful to these people who have such kind, generous hearts. There are very good people in this world. What's the most thoughtful thing someone has done for you? Let's spread kindness in the comments.
What is the most peculiar thing you have encountered that you can't quite explain? I was driving away from a gas station. Out of nowhere, a guy in a suit comes running up to my minivan and starts yanking the door. As if he knew me, he began pleading, "Come on, let me in." Luckily, my doors were locked. I asked him who the hell he was through my window. He looked genuinely surprised that I wouldn't let him in. After I refused to let him in, his facial expression inverted, as if he just realized something horrible. He let go of my car, said something to the effect of, "You're one of them, aren't you?" Then he ran away behind the gas station and into the woods. Full suit and tie, nice shoes, extremely frantic in nature, zero explanation. I'm praying it was some elaborate troll or meth or something, because the look in that man's eyes was pure terror when I didn't let him in.
When did a gut feeling save your life? 1. Lived in Orlando for a few years. Christina Grimmie had just been shot the night before, and my girlfriend wanted to go see a show downtown. We went to the show, but I had a horrible feeling afterwards. She wanted to go to Pulse after because it was on the way home, but her car was broken down that day, and I had my father take us directly home because I didn't feel comfortable staying out that night. The next morning, we got texts asking if we were at Pulse because the club had been shot up. We were there the week before the massacre and had missed it by mere hours on our way home that night. 2. My buddy's sister moved away from home, and within the first week of her living in her own home, a man comes up to her door and asks her if he can use her phone in her house because he is lost. She didn't buy it, felt uncomfortable, and said no. Few hours pass. She walks outside to multiple police cars, ambulances, and fire trucks. Turns out the guy went next door and murdered her 2 neighbors who let him in.
Who is the most evil person that you've actually met? I used to work in a coffee shop in the 90s. There was a male customer who was vile, both morally and physically. He never bathed or changed clothes or brushed his teeth. He smelled disgusting and would stand really close to us when he was cashing out. Once I actually gagged at the stench and he just laughed at me. He would bring his wheelchair-bound wife to the cafe, set her up with coffee and cigarettes, catheter bag hanging on the side of the chair, and leave her there for hours. Sometimes she cried, but mostly she was just a bitch to us servers. Turns out he was leaving her there so he could go grape his 14-year-old girlfriend. He impregnated her, and they decided to run away together. He stole all the receipts from the trailer park he managed, and they headed out of state. They were given a place to stay by some friend of a friend in Arizona. After a couple of days, they decided to steal the vehicles from their hostess, but not without finishing her, her boyfriend, and her 15-year-old son.
What interaction with a stranger changed your life? I was unable to read until 6th grade and was just used to erase the blackboard and pass out papers. I was told I was retarded and just passed from grade to grade. I was not given homework or treated like a normal student.
Mrs. Robbins took the time to sit down with me, and she used flashcards to help me learn the alphabet. She took time to help me after school for months. I learned to read. If this wonderful, caring woman had not taken the time out of her busy day to help a struggling child, I would not be a doctor today. I was the first known dyslexic student in my school district. It was 1967.
What interaction with a stranger changed your life? I was unable to read until 6th grade and was just used to erase the blackboard and pass out papers. I was told I was retarded and just passed from grade to grade. I was not given homework or treated like a normal student. Mrs. Robbins took the time to sit down with me, and she used flashcards to help me learn the alphabet. She took time to help me after school for months. I learned to read. If this wonderful, caring woman had not taken the time out of her busy day to help a struggling child, I would not be a doctor today. I was the first known dyslexic student in my school district. It was 1967.
Am I the a-hole for refusing to wake up at 5 a.m. just to experience the morning with my girlfriend? My girlfriend, 26F, has recently gotten really into the idea of slow mornings. She read some article about how waking up early, sipping tea, journaling, and watching the sunrise is supposed to be this life-changing experience. Cool. Great for her. The problem? She wants me, 28BM, to do it with her. I am not a morning person. I get up at a reasonable time for work, I'm productive, and I don't feel like my life is lacking just because I don't wake up at the crack of dawn to stare at the sky. But she keeps saying it would be so much better if we did it together, like it's some kind of couples bonding ritual. I told her she's free to enjoy her peaceful mornings, but I'm going to enjoy my peaceful sleep. She says I'm being dismissive and that I don't want to make memories with her. But why does this have to be a shared activity? We do plenty of things together when I'm actually awake. Now she's acting like I'm lazy or unwilling to better myself just because I don't want to sit in silence with a cup of tea while the world is still asleep. Am I the a-hole for refusing to sacrifice my sleep for this? Or is this just an unnecessary expectation?
When was the last time you witnessed the real world give a spoiled brat a reality check? We once caught a kid shoplifting and he said his family was just so hungry, and that's why he took the chocolate bars. My boss said he understood what it was like to struggle, but he still stole from us so he could call his parents first, or he'd have to call the cops, and at first he said his mom was dead and his dad was out of town, so my boss was like, "Hey, cops, it is, I guess." Kid quickly changed his tune and reluctantly let us call his mom. It was a gamble, but it worked. His mom was fucking appalled, because in her words, he said we were starving, he said he needed to feed his family. am a lawyer. That boy has had nothing but privileges his whole damn life. I will be there in 10 minutes, and he will work every damn day until his debt is paid off. Ended up being like 4 hours of making him scrub toilets and mop the slushy aisle, but it was nice to see she took it seriously and watch him squirm a bit.
Am I the a-hole for leaving my date at the bar after she insulted my kids? I am a 26M. About a month ago, I met a girl, Hope, 25F, at this gaming group I attend. We're just in the talking stage now, but I like her a lot. Something to know about me is that I am divorced. I have 2 daughters, 5F and 3F, and split custody with my ex. I have the kids every other weekend and on Wednesdays or Thursdays. I guess Hope didn't know I had kids, thought she 100% knew I was divorced. She and me were going to pub trivia last Sunday, and I just dropped the girls off at my ex place. I said something about it while we were ordering drinks, and Hope acted offended. She said she didn't want kids, fine, and never wanted to see or hear about mine. That's okay with me. Not everybody likes kids, but she started getting very vulgar and calling them crotch gobbling and SX fruit and stuff like that. I nicely told her to stop or I'd leave, but she just kept going. I told her I was ready to go, and I canceled my drink and went home. We haven't talked since, and it's been almost a week. Am I the a-hole for leaving Hope at the pub when she called my kids crotch gobbling and SX fruits? Would you have left too? Let us know in the comments. Am I in the wrong for revealing my dad's affair during my brother's birthday dinner? I accidentally found out my dad has been cheating on my mom after seeing flirty messages pop up on his work laptop. It seems like he's been lying about business trips and taking his receptionist on dates while acting like the perfect husband and dad at home. At my brother's birthday dinner, I finally snapped. My dad was trying to be father of the year, and he lying to us all, saying how much he loved us, he would always take care of us, blah blah blah. He said something like he wouldn't ever lie to us, which is when I told about him lying about his trips away and his mistress. He went bright red and the table went silent. He tried to deny it, but I read out some of his messages. My mom left without saying a word. My brother started crying, and my dad started screaming at me for embarrassing him. Now my family is a mess. I spoke with my cousin. She thought I did the right thing, but my grandmother thinks I did it at the wrong time. I agree that the timing was bad, but I couldn't hold it in any longer. Am I the bad guy for exposing his affair? Would you have exposed him, or was this too far? Comment below.
What is the dumbest reason why someone at your workplace got fired? 1. I was at a summer camp and 2 teenage boys, like 16 years old, got into a fight. A slightly older female camp counselor, maybe 19 or 20 years old, ran to get help breaking up the fight. She was pretty small, the guys were pretty big. She got fired because she left the kids unattended for maybe 45 seconds while she went to get help. 2. Years ago, I worked at a movie theater that had a coffee bar inside. On Thanksgiving one year, a guy working the coffee bar got himself a serving of whipped cream to eat with the Thanksgiving meal we provided for everyone. He was suspended immediately for theft, then fired. 3. Dude I knew in the Army was supposed to go on leave for a month, so he got high that weekend, but his flight got canceled. Monday morning, there was a mandatory drug test and he popped hot. 4. New office assistant was asked to drop some laptops off at FedEx to be shipped. Come to find out, she literally just walked in, saw the line was too long, and just left them on the counter. She expected FedEx to know what to do with them. We have no idea what happened to them. They decided to keep her, which was a mistake because she ended up emailing all of our competitors highly sensitive information by mistake.
Am I overreacting? My husband changed the PIN on his phone before hospital procedure. My husband was admitted to the hospital for health issues. He is young but was diagnosed with heart failure. A few days ago, he had some chest pains and low blood pressure. I told him he needed to go in, and 4 a.m. admitted. The doctor decided a procedure that would put him under was needed for answers. He had to leave his phone and belongings. His phone rang while he was out, and I missed it, so I went to check to see who called, and when trying to put in the PIN, got the error that PIN was incorrect. I didn't expect that, because PIN has been the same for 2 years. Am I overreacting and overthinking this PIN change? It was the same PIN 2 nights ago, and now I'm worried that something is happening behind my back. Sure, I know I need to talk to him, but due to the circumstances, I will need to wait a while until he is stable again. It's just weird, you know? We've had issues with his infidelity in the past prior to marriage. I did forgive him. Please be kind. Maybe I'm just a mixture of nerves, lack of sleep, and stress. I love him, and I'm truly worried about his health. We have kids, so there is a lot going on in our life. What do you think? Is this just bad timing or a red flag? Drop your thoughts in the comments.
Am I the B-face for telling my friend I don't want to hear about her affair? My friend, 23F, has been having an on and off affair with a married man, 30M, for 2 years. He's never left his wife, and she has no idea. When it first ended, she was heartbroken, and I supported her, feeling like he had taken advantage of her. But a few months later, she admitted they were seeing each other again. This cycle kept repeating secret meetings, him calling it off, her being devastated, and me being there to comfort her despite not agreeing with what she was doing. I kept my opinions to myself because she always said she appreciated that I didn't judge her. I told her many times that she needed to be the one to walk away. She said that it had finally ended. Then recently, she told me they had reconnected, and I snapped. I told her I couldn't believe she was doing this again, that by now she should know better, and that I wasn't going to keep listening to her cry over something she was choosing to be a part of. She got upset, burst into tears, and left. Now I feel guilty and wonder if I was too harsh. Like, if you think I was right, comment if you think I was too harsh.
Am I overreacting? My fiancé hit me 2 nights ago and now I'm leaving him. I, F37, am currently living in Kansas City, KS with my fiancé, M29, and I moved here from Canada to be with him while we sort out immigration and wedding stuff. I've been here since October. Everything has been okay for the most part, aside from a few big scary fights, but 2 nights ago he actually hit me 3 times. Once on my face, once in my chest, and another time in my arm. I know I have to leave and take my pets home and go back to Canada, but am I crazy for wishing and dreaming that things could still work out? Am I completely nuts for hoping that something changes and I don't have to say goodbye forever? That he will change? Or is it just once he hits you, that's the end forever and there's no going back? I need help making sense of this. Tell me what you think. Am I the a-hole for kicking my friend out of my apartment after how they treated my cat? I have a cat who is my baby. She's super friendly but a little skittish, and I always remind guests to be gentle with her. A friend of mine came over the other night, and while we were hanging out, my cat jumped onto the couch near them. Out of nowhere, my friend shoved her off the couch. Not a little nudge. An actual shove that made her hit the floor hard. My cat ran and hid under my bed, and I lost it. I asked them what the hell that was, and they just laughed and said, "Relax, it's just a cat." I told them to get out immediately. They acted like I was overreacting, saying they didn't mean to hurt her and that it wasn't a big deal. But my cat was terrified, and I don't care if it was intentional or not. That kind of reaction to an innocent animal is not okay with me. Now they're telling our mutual friends that I threw them out over nothing, but the response hasn't been what they expected. Most people are on my side, saying that was way out of line, and a couple even admitted they never liked how this friend treated animals. Still, a few think I was too harsh and should have just given a warning instead of kicking them out immediately. Pet lovers, I need your thoughts. Was I too harsh? Am I in the wrong for feeling upset about a surprise singing chef at my wedding? I got married 18 months ago, and I can't stop thinking about what happened, so I need to know if my feelings are valid or am I the a-hole? My stepdad decided to surprise my husband and I with a surprise singing chef during our wedding reception. Basically, a guy came out in a chef's outfit and said he was working in the kitchen but wanted to sing us a song. Cue 30 minutes of singing and me and my husband being completely confused the entire time. We had zero idea what was happening, and the entire wedding was planned with strict time frames, so it made everything super late, shortened the dance floor time, and meant we couldn't get sunset pictures as planned. To make matters worse, the chef sang my husband's mom's funeral song as his final song. We had briefed all vendors to not play this song, but seeing as this vendor was not organized by us, he didn't know. It was extremely triggering for my husband's family, and everyone was in tears. Our guests were so confused, and it really was very stressful and uncomfortable, until the end when it was revealed it was a surprise gift from my stepdad. He didn't even tell my mom what he was planning, and she was mortified. The rest of the night was wonderful. We have amazing friends and family, but it felt like a blur because I was so rattled by the surprise chef debacle. Looking back now, I really do feel like it took away from our special day, and although it was meant as a nice gift, it didn't work out that way. My stepdad also doesn't know me very well, as I genuinely hate surprises, and we meticulously planned our wedding to reflect us, and we would have never included a singing chef. So am I valid in feeling upset, or am I the a-hole and I should be grateful for the gift? I am incredibly attracted to my husband's friends. My husband and I have been together a long time and our spark is gone. He treats me like one of his male friends. He calls me nerd, loser, chicken. He doesn't laugh at my jokes. He doesn't text me, barely calls me. We don't have a connection outside of being roommates, basically. Well, my husband has friends over often, and they are so kind to me. They help me clean up messes. They tell me I look nice. They listen to me when I talk, and they even respond as if they were actively listening, and they care about what I had to say. We recently all went out and we were dressed very formally for an event. My husband's friends told me I looked lovely and shook my hand, gave me polite hugs. They also talked to me a lot. I know they think I'm pretty, and I love that because I don't know that my husband even finds me attractive anymore. After a few drinks that night, I found that I was enjoying the attention of these other men all too much. Now I find myself fantasizing about them. This isn't the first time I've been attracted to any of them, or even fantasized about them. They are all so handsome. And I love that they find me to be feminine and beautiful, I can tell. My husbands will smack my ass, call me a nerd, and run off not to be seen for an hour. I am nothing special to him beside a dinner planner or a laundry washer. I'm desperate for that fresh male attention. To be wanted. Is this normal, or am I a horrible person?
What's the biggest what the fudge moment that you've had on a first date? I was working in a bar when a customer asked me out for a few drinks. I knew her vaguely as she was a regular. I said yes, though I should have suspected something was wrong. She was a stunner. Me? Not so much. So, we meet and have a laugh, and it's all going great. We go see a band in a local place. When we get there, she pushed towards the front, dragging me with her. She danced on me and grabs my hands to grip her waist as she writhed. Then I saw the lead singer of the band and recognized him as I'd seen her with loads of times at the bar. Yeah, it was her ex-boyfriend, and I was just there to make him jealous. Ever been on a date like this? Drop your wildest first date story in the comments. People who have rage quit a job on the spot. What happened? 1. My new team leader was an idiot and an unpleasant person, so I was thinking about leaving anyway. But the final straw was her firing someone for taking too many days off for his chemotherapy. When it was announced, I just stood up, told her she was a terrible person and that I quit, and left. Then phoned my partner on the way home to explain why I was now unemployed. Very long time ago now, and it all worked out in the end. Last time I heard, the guy was still fit and healthy, so all is well. 2. I told my boss I was miscarrying and needed to go to the hospital. She said I needed to wait until the end of my shift. I was a receptionist for a real estate agency. I walked out and never came back. 3. I asked my boss if she could give me a schedule instead of expecting me to be on call from 6 in the morning to 10 at night Monday, Sunday. She acted like I was asking her for 6 months of paid time off and then said no, and I never went back. Have you ever rage quit a job? Share your story in the comments.
Is it right for me to reveal that my boyfriend is cheating on his wife? Yeah, it is exactly what it sounds like. I've been dating a guy for months. Turns out he has a wife and a new baby. She, his wife, popped up in my Facebook recommended, and there he was. I had no idea, and it's eating away at me. Should I reach out to her and tell her? Or is that wrong and not my place? I don't have much proof other than messages. He always hated taking pictures and wanted to live in the moment. I know why now. We've broken up. I confronted him immediately about it and haven't spoken to him since. Should I tell her, and how should I tell her if so? What would you do in this situation? Let me know in the comments. My boyfriend said I looked so fuckable while I was dying from period pain. Am I the a-hole for considering breakup? I, 25F, and my BF, 30M, have been dating for 2 years now. I have pretty bad cramps every now and then. They're not that often, honestly, but sometimes they are so bad that I feel like I'm legitimately dying. When these kinds of cramps arrive, I'm always in bed, nauseous, throwing up, can't even move my legs because it hurts and writhing in pain. My boyfriend had been there when I experienced this type of cramps, like twice or thrice before when we started dating, but recently, like a week back, this pain resurfaced and he was there with me. I was very obviously dying and the pain makes me bawl my eyes out. My boyfriend just stayed beside me offering massages, but my body does not want any kind of touch as it hurt a lot, so I tell him no. But after some time, he just look at my crying face and goes, "You look so fuckable right now," coupled with, "I read somewhere that sex is good during periods and I would try it if I could." He said these and then continued to sit beside me, just staring. At the time, I couldn't say anything, but I haven't stopped thinking about that day. I ended up asking him why he told me something like that while I was in pain, but he said it wasn't said out of malice but curiosity. He said I looked very cute and breedable when I was crying. But I don't know. Is it normal to say something like that when someone is in pain? I was feeling upset for the whole week, but he doesn't find it a big deal. I impulsively told him I wanted a breakup, but he thinks I'm being too sensitive, and that couples usually do have, and guys fantasize sex during the girl's period. But I had clearly told him that day that my body hates any physical touch since I feel so uncomfortable and in pain all over, and him still choosing to say that makes me so upset. I have a very icky feeling that I cannot put into words. Will I be the a-hole for breaking up over something like this, or am I being too sensitive? Is this a red flag or just a misunderstanding? Drop your thoughts below. Am I the a-hole for leaving my boyfriend after finding a woman in our bed? So I, 26F, am going on a trip to London with my sister today. I've been staying with her since yesterday because she lives close to the airport. I realized I forgot my passport at my apartment, where my boyfriend, 27M, and I live together, and I had time to go back and get it, so I did. I texted him this morning to let him know I was coming back to get my passport, but he didn't respond. When I got there, he looked really antsy and suspicious. I went into our bedroom and found a woman I don't recognize lying in our bed, fully clothed. I just went on autopilot, grabbed my passport, told him we're over, and left. Now my boyfriend is blowing up my phone saying that the woman is his longtime friend, and that she's a lesbian who just needed a place to crash for the night. I don't believe him because he never mentioned anything about her staying over while I was gone, and the whole situation feels off. He's saying I'm making a huge mistake and that he's telling the truth, but honestly, I'm just really hurt and confused. He's begging for me to hear him out and is apologizing, but this whole situation is not right. So, Aita, for leaving him, should I believe his explanation, or is my gut telling me the truth? We just signed the lease 2 months ago, and I'm literally leaving the country today, so it's a horrible and stressful situation. What would you do in this situation? Let's discuss in the comments.